up. Right, let's make sure that
It's warm in here.
it is warm. Even though we're live, do you want to go and save yourself with a fan? Because it's only going to get worse for you.
Dread is only going to get warmer, isn't it?
It's only going to get warm. There's one behind you.
That's what I'll do. I'll let you handle things for a moment.
I will.
I'll go and get a fan.
Just do all of this. Apologies, everyone. We're just Dave. We're talking about systems today. There we go. I just make sure that we're live on Instagram as well, so we can make sure all is good, and then I will check that we're live initially on Facebook. Obviously, if you have joined us, do drop a line in the comments. Be good to see you here.
That's better.
Oh, Dave, that's see, systems. That is like phenomenal.
That's only on level 1 as well.
Level 1. Right, yeah. Can everyone hear us? Be great to.
No one's there.
Here.
Actually, I think are we doing Instagram and everything else again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
thanks to everyone that's
Instagrammers.
joined us. We got people joining us on Instagram as well and Facebook. Simon, you're live, chaps. Thank you, Simon. Well, look, great to be back on another relatively sunny Tuesday.
Not too bad.
We've had some IT system issues in the past, Dave.
Yeah. Only every day of my life.
And naturally, we're talking about trekking. We're talking about high altitude, and we're looking at tracking systems because ultimately it may sound a little bit boring, but when it comes to taking on something like Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro, any kind of high altitude trip really, Machu Picchu, Toubkal, Tour de Mont Blanc, any of those, there are some boring bits that if you get right, you're halfway there really, aren't you? By doing the boring stuff.
I don't even think they're boring. Once you get
into find
them.
out.
Like, and when we talk about systems, obviously, what we mean is like the systems that we can all kind of have in place and have in our mind to make the trek easier.
Yeah.
It's about peace of mind. How do we hydrate? What about equipment? What about layering? These are all things for which there are systems in place that we can adopt. And once you start using them and you've been on a few treks and you've done a lot of training, you'll kind of develop your own systems for managing things. But, we know that there are a couple key systems and key cornerstones that are important to get right if you're doing something like, say, Everest Base Camp, which is going to be really remote, really far away, really weird weather, and you've only got a 15 kg duffel bag to survive it all. So, what?
Only, Dave?
Well, that's it, yeah. Well, I mean, I actually think it's plenty. I mean, I remember one time I got it down to like 13 kg, and then there's some people saying, I can't go without 18.
Well,
That's another packing system, you see.
We'll come on to that because we got kind of prep and gear as one of the kind of big four, really. We've got a hydration, which we always kind of start with because it sounds really boring, but massively important. You've got nutrition and food.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the mindset stuff as well, some things that you can work on in your head. And also then you've got your gear and your training, which kind of go alongside each other sometimes. And starting with hydration then, Dave, I mean, and guys, I know we're just talking here, but any questions do drop in the comments, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Just drop them in the comments. That's what we're here to do. It. Obviously, we're talking about all these different things: hydration, mindset, trips, equipment. Even if it's to do with boots, which you wanted to do a live about boots today.
I was like, yeah, let's do boots. I love a live about boots.
You do. So any questions for Dave? Chuck in about boots, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Bri. Hey, Pratesh. Matt, Simon. Great to see you on here, guys. Also, who we got on Instagram? I got Mikey. We got Chris, Harry, Phil, Brett, Jill, Stephen. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Great to see you all on here. Well, let's start with hydration then, Dave, and as a system then. Although even if we kind of flip it, system sounds like, okay, you must be regimented. But what we're getting at is that obviously you need a certain amount of hydration to be hydrated at altitude, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we've used the word system, but we'll call it whatever you like. Essentially, it's just a way to ensure that you're doing the things that you need to do without really having to think about them.
Yeah.
And that's different for kind of everyone, but that's what systems should do for you, right? It's doing something for you so you don't have to think about it or do it.
Yeah.
Now, when we're trekking, obviously there's not, maybe one day we'll have like an iRobot style guy that walks behind you carrying your bag. I'd sign up.
That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
I'd sign up for it. But essentially, Yeah, so with hydration, and it's different for everyone because when we go to high altitude, you need to drink like 4 to 5 liters of water a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not even be feeling that well. You might have a rough day, and drinking that amount of water is just, it feels like an impossible challenge. So there's a few ways that we've learned over the years to ensure that you do keep the hydration going. One of them is obviously water bladders. And
Yeah.
I'm noticing more and more lately people saying, "No, I don't use them. I don't like water bladders and stuff like that." I've noticed a few, but I
Rather
think
than just bottles.
yeah, I think they're great because if I have a bottle in my bag, the tendency is for me to forget about it and not drink as much. Or if I'm in a bit where I'm on my own, I can't be bothered to take my rucksack off or stretch around, and you know, it's and that sounds like lazy and complacent, but actually when you're really tired, you're really fatigued, you can have some days where you really are kind of pushing the limit, and when you stop, you can't be bothered. But if you've got a tube that's dangling there, you just stick it in your mouth and start sucking water through it, and you don't even think about it.
And that's I think you nailed it there in terms of just that boring little tweak of having a bladder instead of a bottle means that drinking is easier. Essentially, is what it means.
Yeah,
and it gives you less of an excuse not to drink water.
Exactly, and you know, also when you're carrying a bottle, like the biggest bottle you'll probably carry is maybe a liter bottle of water.
Yeah,
that's not always enough. So then you have the need to kind of stop and worry about refills, and that's another thing that could be on your mind. To be honest, I've got probably about 4 or 5 water bladders knocking around the storage, but I think generally if I was going on a trek, I always bring my 2 liter or 3 liter, and I know then because it's measured, I put 2 liters in there. If I drink that by the time I get to like lunch, or if I drink that by the time I get to the end of the day, I know how much water I've had. So it's really easy to deal with. When you've got a bottle of water, you won't drink as much. I just don't think people do. You know, so
I think you're right. I mean, any time you've got to kind of disrupt what you're doing is almost, even if this is your kind of lizard brain underneath you, your subconscious going, no, it's a bit of an effort. I'm just going to carry on. I'll be fine. You know, I think sometimes you've got to battle that. It's like a resistance of your brain. But even just breaking it up, I mean, because you're right, if it's in a bottle, but it's in a bladder. But even you say, okay, I'm going to hit 4 liters today.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, 4 liters is the challenge. That does seem quite a lot to most people. Like day-to-day life, you know, if you're working indoors, in office or outdoors, whatever it is, you know, if you're on your feet all day, okay, you're probably drinking like 1.5, 2 liters max, I'd say, you know, at sea level. If you're doing more than that, awesome. But naturally, it is a challenge for most people, I'd say. And you know, if we're speaking to anyone on training weekends or some of our live training sessions, you know, people tend to say that is drinking like 3-4 liters sounds quite difficult. But again, if you break it down like any system you would, okay, in the morning when you get up, you're going to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So naturally, that's probably like 300-400 mils, and that counts, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then also, whilst drinking your bottle, and think, okay, before I leave this morning, because you've got an hour from maybe when you get up to when you leave, is that okay? Even if I drunk like, I don't know, another half liter of my bottle before you leave, you're almost up to a liter then by the time you leave, and that might be like 8 a.m. Then you've got another 3-4 hours until lunch while you're on your camelback and your bladder. And so by the time you get to lunch, you're almost halfway there, just as a mental kind of like tick.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
It really helps. I think one of the other things to say as well is that I'm a big believer in sort of peace of mind. So I'm not saying bring a bladder, not a bottle. It's bring both, but use the bladder, you know, when you're hiking, and use the bottle for other purposes. And one of the great things as well, and another system, is how to ensure you get safe water. Well, these types of bottles are great because this one can fit a water filter in there. So a lot of the time, well, whenever we give you water on the trek, it's always going to be safe to drink. But there'll be other times where perhaps you wake up in the night and you want to refill, or you're going to refill from a tap or something like that. And I think having a water bottle with a filter in it is really, really good. I have seen water bladders now that you can, I think Camelback do it, where you can connect a filter in between the bladder and the tube. But anyone that's drank through one of those knows that it takes quite a bit of lung power to kind of suck the water through. So it's best to put it in there. Another thing as well is on a trek, whenever I'm going on at least a multi-day trek, I'll always bring like squash, or like electrolyte tablets. I'm not talking about a 2 litre bottle of Robinsons here. I'm talking about the little squirty ones that you can buy. And I'll squirt them in the bottle, squirt them in the bladder, and my God, does it make it so much easier to drink enough water when it's flavoured and nice.
It's a lot easier. Like I think someone on Instagram there put their electrolytes. MPS Plumbing. There we go, mate. Giving you a little plug.
Nice, yeah. Go to MPS for all your plumbing solutions. I think
it's great with the usernames. It's obviously and great to see everyone on Facebook as well. Kate, great stuff. Great to see you on here again, mate. I hope all is well. Stuart, Carl, Pratesh, obviously Bry. Highly recommend using bladders because they're easier, but you will need a bottle at high altitude because your bladder will freeze unless you are lagging to insulate it.
That's
a good point. I remember seeing Bry with, I think it was like, was it like a plumbing surrounding? Like, you stick on your boiler.
Something like that, yeah.
And he had it on his pipe, and I was like, that was ingenious.
The issue is, though, that, you can, but when I was on Tubcal in the winter, they actually froze in my bladder, sort of in my bag. The pipe is always the first thing to freeze, but normally the what's in your bladder, because it sits against your back in the rucksack, is warm enough because of your body heat. But actually, no, it did freeze solid. So that's another reason why, it's not about one or the other. It's about not deciding, I don't like bladders, so I'm not going to bring them. It's about using both and using them sensibly. And I think bladders are great. They're an amazing system. Having said that, the recent walk we did in Cornwall, I couldn't be bothered to bring mine, so I just used a bottle. But I tell you why.
I noticed.
There's another reason, though, because when you look at the map and I'm like, okay, there's about 4 towns we're passing. I'm never going more than like a couple of miles before I'm going to stop and be able to get access to a drink. If I'm going on a walk in sort of Snowdonia, Scotland, or even abroad, I'll always have the bladder then because I need to, you need to be like a camel. You need to carry more with you.
Well, especially in the heat as well. And, I know we're obviously, I know we're talking about drinking, but we're eating up a lot of time talking about hydration. But it's a key, part of the systems really. But anytime if you've got to take that into the equation. What's the environment like? You talked about the cold there, but also the flip side then around heat. You almost need to increase it, especially as well if you're on Diamox. Anyone uses Diamox, you're peeing a lot more. It means you've got to drink a lot more just to keep your body hydrated. So there's all these factors that do come into hydration. But if you can just break it down, and it's not that it's like a to-do list. It's more like day-to-day systems. If you could break it down, simple things. And I don't know who said it once. I think it was I can't remember who said it, but they said around doing the simple things easy, or making the kind of simple stuff easy is the basics of life almost.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You get that right, and the same with high altitude trekking. You get the basics easy, you're halfway there.
I don't want to think about anything when I'm on a trek. I just want to enjoy myself.
That's what you're there for.
I don't want to have to be worrying about, where's my water? And actually, Raymond's has said that he's got a life straw bottle with advanced filtration. Yeah, really good. Can you use it along the Killy Trek in October from streams? To be honest, Ray, you probably won't need to, because you'll get enough water when you start the day to kind of last you, and then we also stop for some food if the day's particularly long. So you probably won't need to fill up from a stream with your life straw. However, bring it with you because it's more than just when you're on the trek. Actually, when you're on the trek, getting access to sort of cleaner water is a lot easier than when you're sort of in urban environments, because if you're way up high on Kilimanjaro, there's no grazing animals up there or anything like that.
It's volcanic, isn't it?
So if you do see a stream, it's probably not going to be as lethal as if you did it like filled up from a local farmer's stream where there is grazing animals and things like that. However, when you're in Moshi before and after the trek, rather than buying bottled water all the time, you can fill up from taps using your life straw bottle.
Exactly.
And that's
all water to go.
Yeah, and it's where it's more important because most people pick up stomach issues actually before or after their trek. So doing that, is 100% bring it with you, but you probably won't need it during the trekking days.
And there are a few different stops, obviously en route to to the summit. But in terms of there's only a few spots where you can actually fill it up. It's quite arid, it's quite dry. But the first couple of days, once you get out a big tree camp and you're on the Shira Plateau, there's not that many water sources. A couple of streams, but then as you get higher, then it does become limited. But essentially, you imagine Killy, you've got this massive glacier on the top, and that kind of feeds everything. There's kind of natural springs, But I think Dave is right. Like ultimately, you'll get boiled water anyway from the guides. which naturally kind of purifies it.
Mm-hmm.
But look, if you want to use that, give you extra confidence, then no worries. Ray's still alive from EBC using the streams. Well, that's it, mate. Exactly. Well, if it worked for you then, and see, that's clearly worked for you on another trip, and that's good then, because you can bring that into another one, and you can utilize that. There obviously are every trip's different. There are some trips we do that there's not a lot of water sources, like Toubkal, I suppose. When you get higher, there's nowhere to kind of get water, so you've got to carry it.
No, exactly. I mean, to be honest, there's not many areas on Toubkal anyway, other than the kind of
up to Chamaroosh and refuge,
beyond there, it's just a little kind of the way they get natural water from many little waterfalls and things like that. But yeah, so that's kind of hydration and water.
Yeah.
What's next on the list?
I know, mate. I'm looking at this. It's actually got a list. And the next one is kind of nutrition or food. And again, talking with the boring stuff here, but if you get these boring stuff well, because naturally we've seen people on trips, and we'll come on to potentially your dad actually, because I think it was a really good kind of story from our first trip to EBC with your dad. And then when he went back, is sometimes around food and energy and nutrition as well. And essentially just trying to maximize and make sure that you don't get a dodgy belly, but also it's just about fueling as well, and making sure that not only are you kind of eating the right stuff and avoiding the right stuff, like especially Everest Base Camp, you kind of want to avoid meat on the trail, but also as well that some people prefer this way. I know this works for me, because I do struggle with my appetite. Again, systematically, I'm thinking, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I'm struggling with my appetite. I'm just going to stick with the things I know I'll eat. And I know that sounds really boring, but all I'm doing is I'm eating more carbs and potatoes. So I'd order like chips or momos, kind of like dumplings with vegetables, and eggs for protein. And that's essentially my diet. It sounds really boring, but I'm still getting enough, even just for the kind of 8 days until you actually get to EBC. Obviously, on longer trips or short trips, you can manage it accordingly. But sometimes when I'm thinking nutrition, it's just about keeping it a little bit plain sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also taking enough stuff with you from home to get by. So on most of our trips, there's plenty of opportunity to buy snacks, and most of what you can get at home, you can get there.
Yeah.
But there probably is some, certain things that you probably wish you'd have brought with you. Favorite chocolate bar. Some people like to bring beef jerky so they can get like some meat in their diet.
Yeah.
Like lots of like Haribos and sweets and stuff like that. Stuff that you can rely on. And actually, a great bit of advice was given to me from the guy we did our mountain training with, Steve. I remember we were doing winter skills training with him, and I had a load of these like protein bars and energy gels and all of that sort of stuff. And then he had jam sandwiches and hot squash. And he's an ex-Marine and stuff like that. And I remember talking to him. I was like, you don't go for much of the sports nutrition? And he's like, why? Why would I? He's like, it's about planning around what you're actually doing, understanding your day, your route, the weather, and bringing food that that you can eat in the worst of circumstances.
And that is exactly why I talk about the boring stuff, because I'll eat it. Because I do lose my appetite a little bit, and obviously then the flip side of that, if you don't eat, you're going to crash. And you need your energy. If you're walking like 8 to 10 miles a day, whatever it is, especially at altitude, you're going to be knackered.
No, and it's really hard if you start to get altitude sickness, because like we said before, we went trekking with my old man. He lost his appetite completely. And it is tricky, because altitude sickness is not like a disease that you catch that means you have to turn around. It's a term we use to describe a collection of symptoms. And depending on their severity and how well you are, means that you can continue with a degree of altitude sickness and finish your trek. However, the problem you get then is, like, how do you ensure you're eating enough and drinking enough when you feel nauseous? It's, if any of you have ever had the flu and you've got to eat and all you can barely manage is like, cream of chicken soup or something like that, that's when bringing those things with you that you can eat in the worst of circumstances really make a difference, and it stops you worrying.
It does, exactly.
Actually, talking about food and sickness, I would say as well, a system that I use is we call it the Brad Pitt kit. Just to touch on that, which is basically...
Good friend of yours, Dave?
Yeah, good friend of mine, which is basically the diarrhea kit. So we
was that from Nomad or something?
Yeah, from Nomad. Yeah, we call it Brad Pitt because where you going? I'm off for a Brad.
Brad.
A bit of Cockney rhyming, but
why not, mate?
But yeah, but
Brad.
those things are amazing because they do come with some antibiotics inside them. That if you do get a bug in your system, you can take these things and they just nuke it. I've had like sickness and diarrhea on a trip before, and it's nobody's idea of fun. To be honest, sick I don't care about. Like I can throw up, like, don't bother me. But diarrhea really stresses me out. I start to really get annoyed by it.
Well, thing is, it's energy sapping, isn't it? And, we've had kind of customers who, recently on our K2 trip and other trips who, once you do have a bad belly, could be something as serious as like gastroenteritis or something, food poisoning. Because, when you go into these remote parts of the world, the hygiene isn't always the same as it is, back home. So you've got to kind of try and be a little bit boring. Dave, I'm not saying you're boring, but you carry some hand sanitizer. Even just a simple little thing like that means that, okay, you at least got clean hands when you're eating. Yeah. Minimizing the chance, not always, but minimizing the chance you're going to get a dodgy belly.
Well, some people have got like an iron stomach. They go away and they never get sick. I can only, if I walk within 10 meters of some stomach bug, I'm going to get it. So for me, like hand sanitizer, after I, to be honest, people say, when do you use it? And sometimes I go and say, well, after I've eaten or before I've eaten, and then, but I'm not actually, no, I'm constantly, like every 2 seconds, I'm just washing my hands. It's probably not good for the skin or anything. But I mean, it does work. Hand sanitizer does work, and it does reduce the amount of nasty germs you get on your hands, which you transfer to your mouth. But again, for me, it's more peace of mind. If I haven't got it, like for instance, how many times when we go to an airport, where have I got to go?
Yeah, exactly. He's always off to the toilet, but I strategically, pick a location that's between Boots and the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I can go. Like, I don't think we've ever been to an airport before where I'm like, okay, and there's a Boots. I'm off to get my stash.
Any city we go to, I'm always
actually, it is, isn't it?
If my Google Maps had a history, it'd be there's a lot of Boots.
Yeah, it's like we could probably like take a picture about me outside and even in the remember when we were at the WTM that one time?
Yeah,
and
London,
this is where complacency.
It was an Argentina store, wasn't it?
I dropped my system for looking after my stomach because I was in London and I thought I'd be fine. And I went into this store, Argentina or Chile, or it was somewhere in South America one day.
Definitely deep south.
Yeah,
South America.
They were
red wine and meat.
Yeah, well, they offered you a lovely bit of red wine, lovely, and then they gave you this cracker with raw meat on top, kind of like a tartare, steak tartare sort of thing. And I was like, oh, fine, I'll have that. And I ate it. And I reckon within 3 hours, my stomach went wrong. And I was like, damn it, why did I just let go of the system? If I leave Newport, like I need to look after it.
But anyone who has got a sensitive stomach, you've got to do the kind of, you've got to look at nutrition and think, okay, how do I best manage that? Like, I know this is slightly different as more of also a mindset thing, which we'll come on to. Is we were with Rasheen, who's come with us to Machu Picchu in a month or so. And we were climbing Kili together. And every day she had this little bag that had little notes on there, but also had sweets, also had some pick-me-ups, some things that actually were like treats as well. Yeah. That actually every day that was her kind of system, one for the mind, but also as well, something sweet, something nice that you can bring with you. And Diane's on here as well.
She had messages in there.
Little messages, exactly, which is like really positive.
Diane was the one that told me. She's called them water worms, but I think they're Walter worms.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think slight typo, but we forgive you, Diane.
They're great. I think because they're like vegan friendly sweets, but they're really tangy and
Walter
nice.
Worms,
Love Walter worms, but I think they do like gummy ones and then more like the Tangtastic ones. I like the Tangtastic.
You like them, don't you?
Oh, every time I can't pass an M&S now if I'm going hiking without going in for some Walters.
M&S and Boots are doing well out of Dave.
They are, but to be fair, like I remember one time we just went. I think we were in London. I had to go to Boots because I bought brand new Vans, and they were blistering.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was having a nightmare.
the things are going to get around now. You're going to get a bad rep.
Yeah.
Like, Bri, Dave has to be careful when he leaves Newport. I'll get my vaccinations when I go to.
Well, yeah, that's because I'm like
good shout, Bri.
I'm acclimatized to Newport now. It's like I'm embalmed.
But no, great to see you on here. Nima as well, all the way from Nepal. Nima, I hope all is
Namaste.
well. One of our Evertrek guides. Great to see you on here. But no, it's and Diane's mentioned there, just while we're talking about nutrition before we go into mindset stuff, I did discover that certain cereal bars really enjoy didn't work for you at high altitude, too pasty. Yeah, it's interesting because at high altitude, it is quite a dry air. It's something else to consider, I suppose, yeah, when you are thinking about the type of snacks that sometimes you never really know until you're out there and it's, oh yeah, it's actually taking a little bit to go down and okay, you've got to hydrate then to get it down. But yeah, you obviously want to make it easy to swallow. So sometimes, yeah, it's a good test. Be interesting to see which cereal bars work. I know, like I have Snickers, which I know is not cereal bars, more chocolate. But yeah, one of my guilty pleasures, a nice Snickers bar on a trek. But they're fine at altitude. Obviously, when it gets cold, they do get a bit hard. So sometimes I put it in my pocket and it kind of warms up nice while I'm walking. And then when I eat it, then it's fine. So don't leave it there too long. Did that on the Cornwall walk, and I was like, it's just mush.
Yeah, well, actually, that was because of the temperature as well.
It was quite warm.
Like everything I had just got. Well, we got seriously sunburned. That was another system, not looking after ourselves, not factoring in weather.
I forgot our own system.
Well,
we were complacent at sea level. That's what that was.
Do you know what? Do you know what it was? Like it was sitting there, and then all day I remember Tom, who we go with, who's the master of systems, I would say.
He is,
Tom.
yeah.
He's I wish I was as thoughtful as he is when it comes to these things. Yeah. But I remember about 10 times during the day, he's like, Dave, do you want some sunscreen? I remember one time lying on a rock sunbathing, I went, I'd rather burn me. Like that, and then just mouthing off, giving it Billy big potatoes. And then yeah, me and you we were in a bad way.
Well, we've only got to look at this. Certainly, I'm quite sensitive to the sun, and again, I know we're talking about water and hydration and food. We'll come on to like prep and gear and that kind of stuff. But another system really is just looking after your skin, especially at high altitude with the sun cream.
Someone going to Toop Colours?
Yeah, I was just looking there. So we got, although obviously it's because the username, Havisham's Barn. Go into Toop this weekend. Sorry, don't know your name, but awesome. I hope you have a good trip. It's Toop again, and July obviously is very warm out there at the moment, so hydration.
Pritesh is saying suncream. He's got an overactive bladder. He's dreading going to the toilet in the middle of the night in the Himalayas. That's why you have a second secret ball that lives in your duffel bag that's empty. And you pee in it
for emergency.
You just got to make sure your mate who's next to you, I
doesn't mind.
We wouldn't care, would we? I'd get up and pee in a bottle.
That's fine. Obviously you've got to check.
Just first, don't put it next to your squash bottle as well in the night, or if you do put it next to your mate's squash bottle in the night.
That is naughty. Right then, moving on from nutrition then and food and going on to mindset stuff, because when we talk about systems, I suppose all of this, anything you do really comes back to the way you think about these things, doesn't it? But something I've kind of found over the years, especially just breaking things up in my mind in terms of the trip, because sometimes you can kind of get a bit overwhelmed by everything you've got to do and achieve, and sometimes you've got to break it down into chunks. It becomes more achievable. Certainly on a trek, because you've got so much you're thinking about. You're thinking, okay, I've got to drink enough water. All right, I've got to keep my hands clean, and I got to do this, got to do that. There's so many things, but again, if you just take it back to kind of, you're out there to have a good time. Okay, it's a challenge, but just go out there and in almost framing it in a positive light. Instead of thinking about all these things that could go wrong, try and think about, okay, I'm gonna put these systems in place to make sure it goes right. It's just reframing it in a kind of different way where once you approach things in that way, from my experience, I know a lot of Evertrekkers, who are very optimistic people. It can certainly kind of guide you in the right direction, rather than if all you're doing is worrying about stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know?
No, 100%. I think one of the big, it's funny because mindset, I think, can be an individual thing, depending on what would make me comfortable on the trek might be different for you. But ultimately, what you want is peace of mind. You want your mind to be at peace, so you can enjoy the trekking.
Yeah.
I always think about that phrase when people say, "Oh, you just want a bit of peace of mind," and I always word it differently inside my own head. Yeah. I go, no, I want my mind to be at peace, so I can just enjoy the trekking. And sometimes, that involves some mental exercises as well to get over tough days and tough challenges. Like I said, sometimes you might not be feeling 100%. I've certainly had to. I can think of at least 2 trips, 3 trips maybe, that I've done, some abroad, some in the UK, where I've had to engage a different mindset in order to get through the day and not be completely grumpy and annoyed or think about packing it in. And I'll freely admit, when I've decided that I've had enough, my mind easily goes to, John, I'm sick of this now.
Yeah.
Like I would happily get a bus or something. It does. It's a weakness I think that I have, that sometimes, like, it's weird though, because it really happens if I'm in pain or struggling or physically. It's boredom, right?
Yeah.
And and this is why I always say I struggle on the Glencoe Challenge.
Well, because of the distance.
Because it's like 27 plus miles. And I love the first half. The first half of it I love. First 15 or so miles, because it's like a great day. You're in the mountains, it's different terrain. And then the second half of it is just a rocky road. I really start to get like, oh my God, I just want to be over. However, I have got a few mental tricks that I use in order to make that go away.
Yeah.
And occasionally it'll go away and I'll feel so much better. And I'm doing the same thing that I was stressed out about. And one of those things is distraction. So I'll start a conversation with you or anyone about anything. I'll be like, Anne, tell me your top 5 favorite movies. That type of thing.
The thing is, that's when but it's good to do those type of things, because one of the things I think you could use it in mindset as pattern interrupts.
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot, especially around, if you feel like your day isn't going as planned, as well as you think. And sometimes you just got to disrupt that pattern. It could be anything in life. And it could be your mate just talking to you. It could be talking about your 5 best movies. It can be anything really. And I think once you know what those pattern interrupts, and obviously as friends, you kind of learn kind of how to snap people out of it sometimes, but also as well is how to do it to yourself.
Yeah.
How to almost be conscious of, actually, I'm being a negative Nancy right now. Come on, mate. Let's appreciate why we're here. Let's just enjoy being in the mountains. Let's, even though your feet are hurting, you're tired, you just, all you want to do is lay down. Just have appreciation for where you are sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's very easy sometimes, particularly if the weather's turned on you or your feet are really in pain, to kind of think like, no, this might be done. But actually, it is temporary. And that's one of the things that I always remind myself of, that most of these days, when you're having those days, they are temporary. It's one day. In fact, it's less than a day. It's a few hours of your life that you have to really sort of just get through in order to appreciate everything that you've done, including that day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when I get to the end of a really tough day, like, I don't like I say I don't like it. The Glencoe Challenge I do like, and I'm proud to have done it. But I'm one of those things. It's like when I wanted to run a half marathon. It's like it was less about actually doing it. I wanted to be someone that had completed a half marathon.
Yeah.
So when I cross that finish line, I'm no longer who I was before. I am now someone who has completed a half marathon. And that's kind of what keeps me going. I wanted to do the Glencoe Challenge. It would be easy to stop halfway and go back because my feet are sore. But I know when I cross that finish line, I'm going to feel amazing because I am now different. I'm different to the Dave that set off, and I love those little changes. It's like on a summit day, a really, really tough summit day.
Yeah.
But there's always a moment, and I liken it to one of my favorite parts of Christmas was Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve night when you're in bed. That anticipation that tomorrow as a kid is going to be the best day ever. And I get that same feeling. I remember it clearly when I first was summit in Killy.
Yeah. Which I've just posted about, by the way.
Yeah.
Diane, great questions. I've just posted a couple of blog links there.
And there's a point where you can see the summit.
Yeah.
But you haven't got to it yet.
Right.
But you know it's in the bag. It's 100% guaranteed that you're going to get there because it's right there. And I love that. There's like that anticipation where I think like as soon as I get there and I touch that summit sign, I'm going to be a different person to the person I am now because I will then become someone who has summited Killy.
Yeah, and that's I always, we talk about pattern interrupts and about something that can just snap you out of it. Sometimes as well, it is remembering what you've achieved and what you've done that can kind of like just kind of snap you out of things. And I remember once, I think it might have been somewhere in Wales, and I was with some other people and actually had already been to aerospace camp. It might be Max and Tom, and we were going up. I think it was the Garth or something, and it was quite steep. But actually, as we were going up, I was thinking, well, this is hard, but I remembered what I've already done.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this is nothing compared to that. So kind of just that, again, that realization, just remembering what you've achieved, remembering the training you've done, remembering, how much money you've saved, how hard you've worked to get to those moments. I think all of that can be kind of swung back around and can help you almost think of it. I know it's not a kind of systems as such, but it can strengthen your mind when you're taking on challenges.
Yeah, I think training helps as well.
Yeah.
Like you said there about like knowing that you've done the training helps you go into something. Because
Definitely.
when if you were just going out, leaving your house and going out for a walk that day, you don't feel anything. You're just going out for a walk. But because you've signed up to go abroad and take on a challenge, there's that, I don't want to fail.
Well, you're trekking with a purpose.
Yeah.
Which is, I think when we all do stuff, look, I like to walk just to walk, and it's nice for thinking and obviously for the exercise. But sometimes when you do it for a purpose, for a reason, it strengthens your position.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think, the training aspect, I think, is great because when I've gone on a trip where I haven't trained adequately, I always have that a little bit of lingering doubt in the back of my mind, like, oh God, I hope I'm not going to get knackered. Like I really don't want to. I don't want to have to grind this out.
Yeah.
And then you always feel a sense of relief if you don't, or if you have a really hard day, you have a sense of regret that you didn't train. Yeah. And then when you have trained and you put in the miles, you arrive feeling like, yeah, I'm good. Like your chest set a bit, and you're like, I'm going to be good on this one. I'm gonna do it.
But you think of it like how a system works. It starts up before it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And then it works. It's the same with training and putting those things in, is that you arrive in good shape.
Yeah.
And moving on to kind of fitness stuff and training and preparation. I think whenever I think of systems as well, and arriving for a trip, you don't need to be like 100% ready for a trip. Like you're never going to be 100%. You arrive there at say 90%. It's like when I was training for a half marathon. I didn't do a half marathon before I did it. Like in part of my training, I think the maximum I did was like 10, 15K. I should have done more, but the fact is that I knew it. You've got it in you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do the whole hog as part of your training, and it's the same. You can arrive 90% ready because you'll find that 10%.
You see, I did it the other way. I did do one before I did one.
You did,
but it ruined it for me. In a way. I signed up for the one when it was the World Championships taking place in Cardiff.
Ah, nice.
And I thought that'd be kind of cool to get the medal. And typically I've lost the medal.
You need to start saving these.
I've got so many that I just don't know where they are.
Memories are good.
I think I should keep them because I see other people's. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. But as soon as I've done something, I stuck it in the bag and then I lose it. But
you'll find them one day.
I remember I was running in Cardiff and I started to meet these people who I was running with.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you're doing the Cardiff one. That's great. Well, 2 weeks before that is the Newport half. Why don't you sign up for that?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, why not? Because if I've done the Newport half, it'll make me feel really good going into the Cardiff one. And I'll be honest with you, I loved the Newport one. It was great.
Yeah.
And what I didn't anticipate was that I had absolutely no desire to do it again. So I was like, and this is the one thing I've learned about me, and this is what training can teach you. It can teach you about who you are, what you like, what you don't like, and you can develop a system then to kind of make yourself perform better. I don't like distance running, and it's nothing to do with how hard it is. It's everything to do with how boring I find it. Like, I can't control my mind. It's a real tough problem. If I do a 5K or a 10K, that's great. Yeah. Anything more than a 10K, and I start to get bored, and I don't know what it is.
You need something to occupy your mind, or I think because you did a marathon, half marathon before you did a half marathon, and obviously we got a lot of runners on here. I know Bri is big into his running. Probably part of it is like, I've already done this, so you would get bored. It's like, it's part of that challenge potentially.
I also it just doesn't work for some people, does it? I mean, some people, like for me, when I'm doing a trek, if I'm in the mountains, I tend not to get bored.
Yeah, right. Because it's a different environment.
I can walk all day in the mountains. I can walk all day on the coast, by the sea, in a forest. But there's something about running in a kind of landscape that doesn't change.
Yeah.
That's why I struggled on that second half of the Glencoe. It's not much of a view.
The conveyor belt.
The conveyor
it's
belt.
long, isn't it? It's a cool valley there.
And why,
Sorry, Glen.
Yeah, and why running is a real challenge. However,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of it, and here's why. Because I do think that running, one, it's an amazing way to get fit.
Yeah.
I've never been fitter than when I was running. I loved it.
Okay.
I've never been more injured as well. But in terms of fitness, when I was on it, it was great. But secondly, it does train the mind.
Yeah.
Like, you are putting yourself, your body, your mind through deliberate stress.
Yeah.
So when it does happen out of your control, you're better able to deal with it. And I actually think running was perfect for that. It was amazing.
Whilst we're here as well, I don't not to do with running, but something would be awesome just to bring it out on the screen there. We're up for British Travel Awards again this year. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've won some lovely awards, and we're up for the best events travel company in the UK. We did win it last year, which was amazing, and it would be fantastic to continue that journey. So I've put the little link there, so bit.ly/vote forever trek BTA, which is British Travel Awards. They've changed it a little bit. It's not as, for some reason, not as easy as it was last time. I don't know if there's new owners or whatever, but you have to fill in your details and then select. But we're best adventure travel company, so you should see our name there.
Mm-hmm.
And then also as well for activity sports provider. They got rid of the trekking one a few years ago, which we were the last company to win that, which was great for our size. But yeah, if you can vote for us, that would be amazing. If we've ever given you any value, even from the Tuesday tune-in like this, obviously if you've been on trips with us, if you're part of the community, if you feel positive around what Evertrek does and stands for, then be amazing if you could vote for us. Hopefully we can bring it home again this year. Awesome. Whilst here as well, just something else. I noticed that we had some amazing content actually shared back end of last week, because we're running a little bit of a video giveaway at the moment. So we got equipment, we got some runner-up prizes, we've got some discounts off trips, we got some good stuff. And also, all you need to do is submit your videos. So there's a link there that takes you through to a form. And I know some people on here already. Bri, loved your videos, mate. They were hilarious, especially the beer pictures. But essentially, we're looking for the best reels, the best videos of Killy. But if you have done on any other trip, that's fine. You can submit that as well. And yeah, it'd be great to see parts of your trip. So yeah, if you just put bit.ly/Killy video giveaway, you'll be able to register that. And we're doing the winner announcement the same day that we're doing the Kilimanjaro competition, which is next Thursday.
Yeah.
So we're back next week. It's not Tuesday tune-in, Thursday tune-in next week. So next Thursday, we'll be doing the winner announcement of both the Kilimanjaro competition and also the video giveaway. So you don't have long. So if you do want to get involved for the video giveaway, definitely go via that link there.
Awesome.
Right, I know we talked about hydration, nutrition, and mindset. I know we talked about training there, but equipment. Because I feel like, again, being kind of systematic, and let's talk about packing first. Your trip's arriving in a week. You're due to depart, and you're thinking about equipment. You can't get it down to kind of 18, down to sort of 15 kgs. You're a bit heavier. So thinking it in a systematic way. I know a good friend of ours, Tom, years ago now, who's like literally the best with packing I've ever seen, the neatest anyway. And he used packing cubes, which I always thought was a really good way to systemize your packing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And it actually got me, and usually I do bring a lot of gear. As you know, I'm always heavier than yourself with packing. But it got me to think about it differently.
Yeah.
Just purely from something simple as packing cubes.
No, yeah, I think they're great. I think they're really good. I think packing as well, one of the biggest stresses that people have is the weight limit.
Yeah.
And I think that stems from the unknown. You don't know what you need because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
So you bring more than you need in case you have to use something. And you always think of yourself like, oh, well, I remember the first time I did EBC, as an example, I had one pair of trekking trousers.
Yeah.
I trekked every day in the same pair of trekking trousers. I didn't think twice about it. It didn't bother me, and then I had a second pair that I wore like in the evenings and stuff like that. So, you don't need as much as you think you do. But one of the ways that I found that you're able to kind of make that feeling go away is do your research. and do a lot of training. So when you are, and multi-day hikes in the UK are really good because you'll get a feel for how much gear you need. And secondly is join communities like ours. You've got the high altitude Evertrekkers, where there are hundreds of people that have done the trip that you're about to do. And I guarantee you, if they talk about these trips as much as I do, that most people in their life are bored of it. But they will jump on the opportunity to kind of help you out with what they brought, what they needed, what they didn't need. And that's right from the horse's mouth. So, I think joining a community of people that have already done your adventure or on that journey with you, great way to kind of get good tips on things like packing, equipment, that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Using a system, also called Facebook. But no, you're right though with packing and things, and it's just practice. Like anything is, you're going out training a lot. Like practice your packing. Again, sounds a bit boring, but some people like to kind of lay it all over their bed and they go through it. Okay, I've got my bladder there. I've got my down jacket. And it's all laid out. And in practice getting it in. And also as well, it's also practice and using it whilst you're doing your training. Nothing worse than turning up to a trip, say Everest Base Camp, Killy, and using poles for the first time, and poking people in the eye, or you don't really know how to use them. It's good to get that into your training, and into anything you prep basically before you going out on a trip.
I'm going to go and let Penn Ganniford in.
Yeah, she clearly wants some snacks.
Penny wants to join the Tuesday tune-in.
So Penny the Everdog, she clearly... What are you doing? I bet you she just chills on the sofa.
That's all she wants to do.
I know. She's got a little perch.
She might appear behind us at some point. There she is.
She'll join in. She's been on many a Tuesday tune-in over the years. But yeah, she was laying out there. She's now come to join us.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, we've covered, lots of different types of things, and I know we're talking about systems, especially when, it can sound boring. But honestly, if you get your basics right, you are kind of 90% the way there. When it's like you're talking about drinking enough water, you're talking about the food you eat, you're talking about going into it with the right frame of mind, which is massively important and very underrated. You've got to practice and get that right, and also with your gear and your training and that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, it is amazing if you get those things right. It's amazing how successful we are. See a lot of hugs going on.
Yeah, there's lots of hugging, and then as I looked over, Vicky, the dancing yeti, stuck her finger up at me. If you believe that.
Wow,
so rude.
Professional as always.
Yeah.
No, great stuff. Well, Dave, any final thoughts over the systems?
Yeah, I think remember that it's about peace of mind.
Yeah.
But also being, I think, as critical with your systems as possible. And I mean that in terms of like packing, don't just pack everything in the kitchen sink. Be quite critical about what you need. But also, things like hydration. There are ways and methods. All of this stuff is not new. There's many people that have designed many ways to make them successful in these remote regions that we travel to. So the information is out there, and that's probably the one biggest thing I'll say is that, do as much as you can to learn as much as you can, because then when you're out there, you don't have to learn anything. You can just sit back and enjoy the views.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope that's been useful today. I know we've covered some things that we've talked about before, but sometimes we do want to kind of break it down to the simple stuff, because once you are able to kind of get that right, it is, you are 90% the way there, and you just want to enjoy your trip. As Jim said, as Brian, you go and you have a good time, you have a good sense of humour. It can take you a long way. Leanne's just dropped a question. How do we join the community group? Leanne, if you just go over to, so you're obviously on Evertrek's Facebook page, you'll see that one of the groups there is called the High Altitude Evertrekkers. If you go and join that is our group. I think we've got over, 16,000, obviously Evertrekkers, other people who haven't been on a trip yet, some people who are going on trips, people who've been on trips. It's a great community, and definitely get posted in there and intro yourself, especially if you're going on an Evertrek trip.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it now. And is it Leanne? Was that who it was?
It is, yeah, Leanne.
Yeah, I'll approve her entry.
Oh, there we go.
Right now.
So if you just click on there, and then it's because it's a private group, and then you'll be able to go in. We've had a lot of new members. Over the last kind of couple of weeks because of the Kilimanjaro competition. Good luck to everyone that's entered. As I mentioned, talking about the Kilimanjaro competition, that is next week, which is the 31st. So me and Dave will be here. We're doing the winner announcement.
Yeah.
We'll be calling the winner. So good luck to everyone. I know I will also add that here as well, just because, why not? Win a Kilimanjaro trek. There it is. If you are interested in entering, if you've not entered yet. I'll leave that there as we kind of go off. But yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Yep.
Be back next Thursday. Anything you need, obviously, just reach out on the website, on the live chat, or drop us a message, info@evertrek.co.uk. Obviously, as well, you can join the community, as we mentioned there. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, take it easy.
See you guys.
Bye.